Oh, well, tēnā koutou katoa whānau. Welcome back to the Drive Time Show. Today, I have got a pretty awesome guest on the show, Bobby Campbell Luke of Taranaki and Ngati Ruanui descent, joins us today on the show to share his experience of graduating and now being named a doctorate in philosophy and the visual arts. He was first recognised for his brand Campbell Luke, and his outlook on kaupapa Maori being woven into his fashion label was pretty stunning. And if you haven't seen some of his mahi, you definitely need to go and have a look. Bobby has worked to decolonise fashion, to empower wahine individuality, and to create something pretty special. And I would love for you all to extend your congratulations to Bobby today. Or should I say, Dr. Bobby Campbell Luke. Kia ora, welcome to the show.
Kia ora, Leah.
Hey, earlier before we jumped on here, actually, Bobby was talking about how when he had to pop in his name to use the streaming service, should I say, you actually were like, maybe I'll use Doctor today.
Yeah. I was thinking, I put my name down first and I thought, oh, I'm actually going to flex this and I'm going to put Doctor in front of it this time round.
No, how cool is that?
It was one of the few things one of my supervisors said to me. She said to me, now in your signatures of your email, you have to put Doctor. And then when you book a flight, you put Doctor. And then you put, change all your different titles. And then that's your little flex for yourself.
I love it. I love it how it's your little flex. That's so cool. And so does that mean maybe when you go on a flight being a doctor, that
I probably won't do that because I'll be too scared if someone if it was actually an emergency or something. But I've actually had a few cousins say to me, "Oh, cuz, do you do prescriptions?" And I said, "No, cuz, it's not that kind of doctorate."
Oh, I love it. Hey, firstly, congratulations. This is a pretty big deal, and we're all so proud of you here at Kōrero, as we've watched your journey from, going to university and studying, and when you ventured out with your fashion label, it must have been pretty surreal walking onto that stage and receiving that taonga, and also because you popped up a video of them announcing your name, and then we could hear the karanga in the background. What were you feeling at that pivotal moment?
I think it was over the days. It actually kind of started to build. My nervousness and myself started to build up. And I think last week I didn't even think about anything about it really, other than trying to organise all of my family and my whānau. But I think it was when I put my gown on and all of the regalia that I started to reflect. And really that day was about reflection, because I didn't just carry myself on there. It wasn't really about me necessarily, I felt. It's just it's hard to really describe, particularly when you're with the projects that I was doing during the tenure of the PhD. All of that is carried with you, and as soon as I got to the top of the stairs, it's just like a wow, like it's just a unbelievable experience, emotional experience that you just cannot feel in any kind of way. And as I was there, I started to think about everybody, and tried to make sure I thought of everyone that was a part of the journey. And I've always mentioned that we stand on shoulders of our ancestors, and people have held my hand during that journey as well. And I think it's just something that you have to experience yourself, really. I've been across that stage about 3 or 4 times now, and this is the last time. I do it. But this was a really different one, because it just felt like I was the only person on that stage, but there were so many people behind me and so many people around me at the time. and yeah, it's indescribable. You know, when you hear things, you know, people shouting your name and clapping, and
Yeah.
it's all good, but you just go into a space of just like enlightenment. Um, and I think that's the most beautiful thing about being Māori as well, is that we transcend things into a different space, and those traditions that we have, yeah, really mark a milestone in our both culturally and in individuals.
Absolutely. And, I can imagine, because looking at that video that you shared, and hopefully we can try and share that within this kōrero, but, emotion does definitely make us well up, especially when we can hear our whānau in the background, because they're just expressing their proudness for you and, how proud they really are of the mahi that you've done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
certainly, they certainly do. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. And, how did you feel when you look at all the mahi you did, leading up to graduating? Because you say, wow, you've been on that stage a few times, but there's
Yeah.
actually a lot of mahi behind that.
Yeah. So, I guess what consists of a doctorate in philosophy is that you have to come up with a project. You get 1 year, given 1 year to propose what the project would look like, and then you have 2 to 3 years to kind of undertake it. And my journey really started from my bachelor's. I like to say that my work is kind of scaffolded on top of each other over the years, and there's always a reason why you do a PhD, or a reason why you do a research project like this, and it usually comes from trying to contribute to knowledge, but also trying to explain your passions in the way that you can articulate it for others to understand, and how they can put forward their own thoughts around it as well. Um, so it was really trying to understand how I could fit how I could find my own positionality within the spectrum of design. And being Māori and being in that space, you don't necessarily you don't carve a space out for yourself very easily, because you're not necessarily reflected in the industry. Um, and that was something that I wanted to do. It was something for the little me to really the little Bobby, who went through university, and to show him that he can be reflected in the practice and in the learnings and the pedagogy of an institute, of a university institute, and to be fostered culturally as well, so that I could be reflected and see that it's important to be Māori within that space. And I struggled through parts of those learnings as well. Going into a predominantly Pākehā centric
Mm,
program, it was something that I assimilated to my peers. And it wasn't until really my third or postgraduate years that I started to realize that what makes me any different from anyone else in this room was being Māori. And
mm,
I think once that light bulb clicked on my head, it was trying to figure out that process that I went through could be made easier for those who come through that space as well. So that's what this research project really was the purpose for, but was also to highlight certain inspirations or precedences that come from our culture and from taranakitanga, and celebrating who we are through this mode of practice, through film, through fashion, through visual arts, through moving image. How can be celebrated within the contemporary arts. I wasn't a weaver. I wasn't a carver or any kind of traditional toy Māori, which I have huge respect for. Um, but I was a fashion designer. I could sew,
mm,
I could pattern make, I could design clothes. So, kind of using those skills to understand how our pūrākau or our stories can come together was really one of the other main purposes of doing the project as well. So all those fashion shows that I've done, and people probably already know and seen those as well, they were all part and parcel of what this PhD really meant. It was scaffold on top of each other, and continually to develop the collection. And if I were to put the PhD into like a package, it was really about understanding how we see cloth, The title of the thesis was Kakuhuhau, which means the breath of cloth, and that was to understand that just because it's not wholly a natural resource, or it's a contemporary object. Clothes are a Western commodity, and if we can understand how we can look at these objects and clothes or cloth or textiles in a way that we can understand when we look at taonga, there was a different layer or modi to the object, and how to articulate that was a methodology that I had come up with during the methodology. So yeah, it's been a journey.
It sure has been a journey, and I have loved watching your journey, Bobby. And like your fashion shows have been just so amazing, and I love the difference that they have in the shows, and just the beauty that you have created with clothing. It's just amazing, and definitely congratulations on all this mahi that you have done. Massive
Mm.
achievement, which leads me into, how did you end up celebrating this massive achievement? Like, what do you do when you become a doctor?
um, just hang out with your whānau friends and celebrate, really. We come home early yesterday, and I just blobbed out all day yesterday, and I blobbed out all day this morning as well. Had a couple of things I needed to do, but nothing necessarily big. But I think just after that, it's actually quite tiring.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but it's I think it's always good to come back with whānau and reflect. And just, yeah, it's just because they're a part of that journey as well. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And they must have been so stoked to be part of the crowd, watching you go up and receive this awesome taonga. What were their words when they saw you up on the
I think
stage? How were they feeling?
I think everyone was just really emotional about it. I think I'm just thankful for them, to be honest. Every single person, or every single one of my family and my friends who really contributed to this. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. Henny, my sister, who's a hairdresser, has always helped me in everything that I do. I take my hat off for always being there for me in terms of, she's just like, what do you need? What do you need me to do? Oh, da, 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 da. And my friends that are always there for an emotional hand when I'm stressing out, or if I need to have a big moan. It really takes a village.
Sure
This
does.
milestone, and it really does. And my mum, as a teenager, she would always say to me, education, education, education. Education is the most powerful thing you can ever have, and that has always been in my head growing up. And actually, I wasn't actually really good at school academically.
Oh,
Um,
right.
I couldn't tell the time till I was about 14, or
Right.
well, English wasn't my best suit, but I had determination,
Yeah.
and having mild dyslexia at times as well was really bad. Um,
Mm.
but I think trying to overcome those things and understand the true dexterity of trying to overcome those challenges all the time where you struggle really helped me be more resilient when encountering challenges in different ways. Um, struggled with those things academically, but I had a practice. I was good at making. I was good at
Mm.
drawing. I was good at anything creative. My mind would just go off on a tangent and transcend into different ways of doing things and making. And then I think as I went through university and started to think about how this could actually be a method or a methodology that can be followed, it started to become more academic and articulated. And yeah, it's just been really a big journey. And my mum has been one of the biggest catalysts in this journey as well. Trying to articulate her teachings and her way of knowing and being from back home, and putting that to the forefront, but using it in a way that we can understand it through design. and different creative areas. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I love how, your determination has kept you going, and just looking at your strengths, because everybody has their own strengths, right?
Mhm.
It's about finding that and just pushing through, and being determined. That's a big one. What does the future of Dr. Bobby Campbell Luke look like for you?
Um, it's been one of the biggest probably challenges I've had in the last couple of months, actually. I'm turning 30 this year. I finished a
Whoop whoop.
PhD. Yeah, it's almost like this decade's ending, is
Mm.
coming to an end, and I'm just trying to figure out what I want to open um, um, next. And I think it's, for me, everything's been about what I'm doing and what I want to do. I think it's now about giving service. I need to give back, start to give back in different ways. I do have an academic job at the moment, and through teaching and learning, I've been doing that quietly around in the background. But I think I need to start giving service, and it's about service and about giving back to our own, and guiding them through that's the same journey that I have been through as well.
Beautiful. We look forward to all that mahi that you're wanting to, bring into the community. I think that's so cool. And it's been really cool chatting with you today, Bobby. Man,
That's
you're inspiring. You're cool. You're amazing. And also, once you get to your 30s, I feel like it is just amazing, 30 and thriving, as they say. So you're in for a treat, I'm sure. But thank you so much, Bobby, for joining me this afternoon. All the very best. Ngā mihi.
No, thank you, Leah. Thank you.